We're just finalizing our guest speaker. Dave Gauthier is logging in, and you gotta love technology when it works, and sometimes a few challenges, we have to be patient. So as he's trying to log in, I do want to welcome everyone again to a live webcast with NexLev, and I'm a guest host today. My name is Jason Trach. And I would like to just do a quick round of intros. Maybe if everyone just wanted to say their name, give a 30-second name and who they're with and their objectives of the webcast. So how about starting here with this good-looking guy here, Bruno.
Hello, my name is Bruno. I'm from Brazil, and I'm enjoying to watch all the videos here and share a lot of information about the project management. Everything nice to learn, something special.
Excellent, thank you, Bruno. And just reminders, when people are talking, please unmute, and then when you're not talking, then do the mute. And that's just if you move your cursor and it's at the top of the screen, there is a microphone. Okay, so if we go moving to the next gentleman there, looks like Carlos.
Oh, hi. Yes, it's me. My name is Carlos Guzman, and yes, I am on the Equilibra side. Yes, I like to enjoy the webcast to share some experience about the course, the PMP course, and also sometimes I provide my feedback. So, and of course, learn from guests and experienced people. So it's nice to be today again.
Excellent, thank you. The next one is David Gauthier, and we're going to skip you, Dave. Come back because you're a guest speaker today. So just a couple notes. Let's go move over to Jackson. We'll come right back to Dave.
My name is Jackson Chan, software director in NexLev. What else then? I usually need to talk to clients for requirement analysis, that sort of thing, for project management.
Okay, that sounds good to us. Just a little bit louder next time you're speaking, please. And that's a little bit on the side of the microphones here. And I believe the next person is there, Brenda.
Good morning, Jason. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast. I'm the office manager here, and project management is learning something new every day, just as we discovered this morning. So welcome, and always exciting to see what will be next.
Thank you. Tyler.
Like Jackson, I'm a developer here. I'm doing lots of the web stuff for the course, so keep checking in. Things will be changing every day. And like you, I'm here to learn about project management and how I can use it.
Excellent. Thank you, Tyler. Okay, so as we have a guest speaker here, Dave Gauthier, I'm going to introduce him. And just to give a bit more background also on his awareness, is this is a live webcast, but we also record it and post it. And we've been getting a lot of hundreds of hits on past webcasts when people pick up the webcast at their own time. Because as we build more of a portfolio of webcasts, these are all little tools that we can leverage to talk about project management. And we always invite you to join live. Contact us at our NexLev website, and contact us anytime through email or call, whatever you like. And we'll be holding this every week to be more open. And it's an informal discussion. We don't have rigid agendas. We really prefer to have open Q&A and just be more openly talking with experts related to project management. So enough of that, and let's talk about Dave. So I've worked little bits with Dave in the past while, and a very humble man, so I hope he's going to at least brag a bit about himself. He's very decorated in terms of PhDs, MBAs, so academically incredibly strong. But then there's the business side of him. And that's hard to do because very often you get into the academic world and you really know the best way to do things. But then Dave's also been on the entrepreneurial side where he's been executive positions for multiple organizations. One of the most exciting ones where I got to meet him was the Saskatchewan Entrepreneurial Foundation, where he is right in there in the trenches with business managers, business executives, founders that are starting up businesses, or they have a small business that they're trying to grow. So he has that side also. So with that little bit of an introduction, Dave, how about you just tell us a bit about what excites you most about project, and a lot of it will tie in with Dave's expertise is also in business startup management, because when you're starting businesses or when you're small businesses trying to grow to that next level, project management approach is very important. So if we could ask you, Dave, to talk a bit more about, to continue your background, what gets you excited about project management in a business startup, in a small business growth area?
Okay, thanks everyone. It's great to be here this morning. This is my first webcast, so hopefully everything works okay. I'll just check and make sure everyone can hear me and see me. We'll start with the technical stuff first. We're good? Okay. So the question around project management, first of all, I'll say I guess I wouldn't consider myself an expert on project management per se, other than I guess the courses I would have had during my MBA. However, through running a business and with dealing with businesses, I'll talk more about the process, I guess. I've been able to identify a process that businesses go through and need to go through in order to grow their businesses successfully and hopefully become larger companies and maybe even multinational companies. So that experience has taken a lot of years to develop. And I don't know if I should give just a quick overview of my background so people understand the context where I'm coming from. Would that be helpful? Great. So back to my PhD days, although I was being trained as a plant biologist, I also had a very good opportunity to be involved in administration in the laboratory. So being a new graduate student, for whatever reason, my supervisor decided to put me in charge of his grants and managing a relocation of our lab across the country. Maybe he saw some aptitude there, or maybe I was just the only one who was willing to do it. I don't know, but regardless, I had a lot of fun doing other things other than just bench science. So when it got towards the end of my PhD, I was really looking for something else I could add on to the technical background that I had. So that's why I decided to pursue an MBA degree. And learning all of the various aspects that need to go into running a business, and now thinking about how technology might fit into that. So quite fortunately, right towards the end of my PhD, ran into some old professors of myself, or old professors that I had in school, and getting close to finishing my MBA as well, they had started a startup company in the plant biotechnology realm. So I joined them in a business director capacity, and was involved in writing the business plans, seeking venture capital, doing corporate deals. So I kind of understood where the technology was coming from, but I was looking at it pretty much exclusively from the business side. From there, I joined a venture capital firm, which was investing in young startups based in agricultural technology areas. Investing in them, we were managing them for a while and getting further rounds of financing. Had a lot of fun doing that, and then in 2005 moved out here to Saskatchewan, where I joined the National Research Council and ran their IRAP program here in the province for a couple of years. And following that is when I joined the Entrepreneurial Foundation of Saskatchewan, the not-for-profit that Jason mentioned at the beginning. And that was a great experience for me because we dealt with all kinds of companies. They weren't just technology-based. They weren't focused on any individual sector. And that's where I really started to pull it all together, understanding the process that businesses have to go through and the stages of development that they need to go through in order to be successful. And
Dave, if I could just interrupt a bit, because I think there's a few points you touched on, like VC firms and then over even doing work with NRC. Do you want to explain, like 30 seconds, a minute? Because a lot of people probably don't realize, as a project manager, as a business owner, how NRC can help you. And what is NRC?
Sure. So the National Research Council is a long-standing institution in Canada, primarily focused around the various research institutes that they have across the country. For most of their history, they were involved in what I would call translational research. So it wasn't just university academic research, it was more applied and really trying to move those technologies into industry. They developed a program quite a few years ago, 40-something years ago now, I think, where they were involved with working with small and medium-sized companies. And at that time, it was mostly networking and advice. And then a number of years later, they actually had a funding program. The amount of dollars available depends from budget to budget, but it's somewhere around $100 million a year that's spread across many different companies across Canada to help them do essentially pre-commercial research and development.
Okay, good, good. So this is where I could even say, as a company, we've leveraged NRC. So what I'm hearing too is, and NRC gives networks, they give advice, they give consulting, and they'll give funding because they get $100 million. Like ourselves as a company, we did a $50,000 grant, which was given to us to help hire a new grad. So as a project manager or a CEO of a small company, please do a call to NRC IRAP and find a rep. So Dave, now to go back to where you were getting into the business process. So if I was a PM and I wanted to find a tool to help me better manage my projects, so a lot of it is in a business startup. So what kind of process are you talking about?
Yeah, this is not a micro process to start with. We was talking about a macro process. And we developed a tool while I was at the Entrepreneurial Foundation that really tried to diagnose where a company was in terms of its thinking and development along a number of different dimensions of its company. And so typically when an entrepreneur walks through the office, they're one of two colors. They're either the technically oriented entrepreneur who has invented something, and that's how they approach their business, through the thing that they're developing. And so they may have gone very, very far in terms of the actual product development, yet they may have neglected other extremely important parts of their businesses, such as, does anyone want to buy it? How much will they pay for it? How are they going to manufacture it? How are they going to hire people and build facilities and infrastructure in order to get it to market, etc. Or they're the other flavor of entrepreneur, which is sort of the marketing type, the one that sort of has an idea and is out there trying to sell the idea and pull partnerships together, but actually neglecting some of the...
And find a rep. So Dave, now back to we were getting into the business process. So if I was a PM and I wanted to find a tool to help me better manage my projects. So a lot of it is in a business startup. So what kind of process are you talking about?
Yeah, hearing a recording part of it. Hold on a second.
Some of the recorded stuff is playing back. Oh, there, it stopped.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Dave, I'm not sure what happened there.
That's okay. We're just hearing the old recording. So essentially what the other flavor I was talking about was the marketing type of an entrepreneur who has the idea and wants to go ahead and is already pulling relationships together, yet not really spending the time figuring out, can they actually build the thing. So those are the two most important elements, I think, that any entrepreneur needs to start with at the early stages. Is if you come from it from a technical side, to recognize that there's other things that you need to worry about as well, and vice versa. So at the very earliest stages, bringing the market concept and the thing that you're going to do to sort of make that concept a reality have to come together.
And I can relate that, I think, to project management, because very often a project manager can be more technically strong and they really focus on the technical aspects, or a PM can be more extrovert, marketing, salesy, influential, people strong. And I've seen PMs highly successful on both sides, whether they're product focused and very detailed on the system and the function, or where they're very process oriented. So now, same with you. Have you seen the businesses successful on both sides, like a tech oriented guy or a market guy?
Yeah, anyone, as long as they're willing to recognize their limitations and recognize the importance of the things that don't really excite them or things where they're not skilled, they have a chance of succeeding. And so I think when we're working with entrepreneurs at a very early stage, all we're trying to do is just bring that perspective to them. And some of them will recognize that they need help. Others will be so focused on the technology that that's all they'll ever do. They'll never get out of the lab. They'll do R&D forever. They'll try to find people to give them money to do more and more R&D, but they can never seem to actually move something out into the world. So you can't force anyone to go through that process, but with different tools, and if they're willing to listen and learn, that realization that there are other things you need to worry about, and trying to build a team around you of people who have strengths in the different areas is really the best way of moving forward.
See, that's amazing. I believe you've hit a lot of what past speakers have also touched on, is the strength in a collaborative approach, because far too often we get so hung up on, here's my weakness, but no, what I'm hearing is that identify your strengths, what excites them. I love that word that you said, and then have an open perspective to bring in people that can cover those strengths. So from that point, where do you see maybe some of the biggest risks or the biggest obstacles or downfalls that people very often get in managing their new projects or businesses?
Definitely the ability to delegate and allow other people to be responsible for portions of your company is the only way that a company can grow. And so from our experience, a single entrepreneur might be able to grow a company to maybe 10, maybe on the outside 15 people, and they might be able to manage that by sort of being the boss of everything. Once you get beyond that, then you really do need to delegate and you need to step back. And an entrepreneur needs to understand when they are getting in the way of their own business progressing, because they don't necessarily have the humility to admit that they're not an expert in a certain area. Or they really enjoy an area. They might really enjoy working on the technology side, and just because they enjoy it, they're just neglecting other portions. So if I can pick on the academic, I guess because I was one, this is where it's the most common. If you think about the typical academic researcher, they are an expert in their field. It might be a very, very small field, but they are world-renowned. They have publications in international journals. They are the expert in that little field. And so you can understand how they might perceive themselves in terms of their abilities when you live in that environment where you truly are a world-class expert. And then you come in and talk to an advisor like me, and I'm talking about marketing and stuff, and oh, that stuff's easy. Oh, that stuff's really, really, really simple. So in those cases, again, it's trying to get them to have enough humility to realize that because they're an expert over here doesn't mean that they're an expert somewhere else. And that's all you can do. If you can get them to understand that, then they might reach out and look for assistance. So that's kind of picking on the academic side, but you know, some people can make that leap. Other people can't make that leap, and the only way of dealing with that is to maybe then convincing them that, okay, you have a cool technology, but maybe you should license it to somebody else and let them worry about the commercialization rather than you trying to do it on your own, because on your own you won't be able to raise the capital, you won't have the time to be able to dedicate to bringing this to market because you don't want to give up your tenure track position, etc., etc. So there are alternatives, but you need to, again, make sure they have the awareness of the challenges before them and then help them make a logical decision within the context of how they want to live their lives. If they want to continue to be a professor and play in the lab, then it's very hard to also grow a business, off the side of their desks.
That's the art of delegation, the art of teamwork, and that's such a key aspect. There's so much overlap in the success of a project and setting up the systems early on for your business, because we all do projects for one reason. It's to improve the business. And in essence, a lot of times people see project managers as leadership executive type roles, because these projects are rolled out to help that business. So on another question then, from your years of experience, what kind of success factors, what kind of success tools have you seen people use, or maybe what makes people great and successful in the entrepreneurial startups or the business startups or those project startups?
Yeah, there's been a lot of attempts, I guess, to define what makes a successful entrepreneur. People have done personality profiling, they've looked at sort of educational background, all sorts of things. And I haven't kept up with that literature in the last couple of years, and some people may think they have kind of cracked the code. But what I have seen is that there really is no similarity other than, number one, they've got drive. They really have a vision. They want to succeed in that vision and making it a reality. And number two, they know what they don't know, and they will seek out those answers. And so whether that be just talking to whoever they can to give them an answer and help them forward, or eventually learning how to delegate and build a team around them. Those are the two common things that I have seen. Those people, some of them don't even have a high school education, others have PhDs, so it doesn't really matter what the educational background was. It really is more of that behavioral approach to life, I guess, that to me defines a successful entrepreneur.
And that's so interesting, because we face that in project management in terms of identifying it as a profession. And similar to like an entrepreneur, how do you identify that as a profession? Because you could be the most highly educated, or you could be grade 12 education, and you could be successful. So that's where, and part of what I know Carla's just joined us, and she's one of our specialists at NexLev that deals with knowledge transfer. And that's what maybe I could even ask her for a point too there, is because I know from her perspective, it's how do you give these people like PMs or entrepreneurs more tools on their belt? How do you give them more ability to basically, I love how you're saying, have more drive, have more vision, have more success, and it's these fundamental platforms. So Carla, if you could just touch for a couple minutes, like I know you have some approaches like with new courses that you have.
Sorry, Jason, your question is my approaches to new courses?
No, I understand you were mentioning the other day about some new PM courses that you're dividing into 3 different levels, because before you've talked on the webcast about an advanced PM class for tools such as entrepreneurs or PMs. But now you also have some other levels?
Yes, there's a 3-day and a 1-day. So more basic and intermediate levels where everyone and anyone within an organization can benefit from that professional development. It speaks more to the framework of project management and will help people work through the workflow process within any market.
Okay, and so from NexLev perspective, you got the advanced, you got the intermediate, and you got the basic. Now, Dave, did you see similar approaches like Carla's taking there to help knowledge transfer and train? Do you see like an advanced levels for advanced entrepreneurs and projects, and then basics? Is that all part of that system too? Like,
yeah, so certainly depending on the stage of development that a company is at, they've got to focus on very different things. And at the earlier stages, again, it's not so formal. They really just have to bring the product concept and the market sort of together with enough evidence to say, yeah, this idea is worth pursuing. Then at the next stages, where they would get into prototyping and actually developing the business plan and lining up the financing and the capital so that they can actually launch, then there would be more formal processes that they would go through in terms of, you know, a strategic analysis, a market analysis, developing a human resources strategy, a financing strategy, which would be more formal. And then as a company starts to grow, that's where internally within the organization they have to have very good structures and processes to be able to monitor the world essentially on a real-time basis and analyze that data and always try to stay ahead of their competitors. So it can start with some very easy steps, and it can end up being very complex. And one of the things that I've seen that has been a downside of some attempts to support entrepreneurs is they actually try to jump ahead a little bit. So you wake up in the morning and you have an idea to go and take a business planning course that's going to show you how to write a business plan that would be suitable for a venture capitalist is probably a little bit too early. So you end up with a lot of folks who kind of fill out a template, and they think because they filled out a template that now they can take it to a capital provider and get financing. Well, they can't. Even though you kind of filled it in as best as you can on a template, doesn't mean that you actually have a product concept or a market concept or demonstrated the ability to move it forward to the extent that a venture capitalist wants to invest in you. So again, I think there's an attempt by a lot of entrepreneurs to try to cheat on the final exam by not going through the process of actually going to the classes and doing the work and the homework, and they kind of feel like by filling in the business plan that now they have the final exam that they can go and have the permission to start their business and get all kinds of capital. So again, I think it's important for them to understand why they need these things, understand what kind of company they are so that they know which kind of business plan to write. Most will never get venture capital. Most need a bank loan, and you need a very different business plan to go to your commercial banker than you would need to bring to a venture capitalist. You need a very different type of document to get an IRAP grant or some of the other grants that might be available at early stages than a business plan. So again, it's understanding who you are, how you're likely to evolve, what sort of capital you will need that then dictates the formality that you need to develop in order to pursue that strategy. So baby steps first, run later.
Excellent points, excellent. And that sounds kind of similar to then what Carla and the NexLev course is. It's you can have the advanced levels, you have the intermediate levels, you have the beginner levels. It's first of all identifying what level you're at, and then look at it from a suite perspective. So not only one course, but look at your entire process and framework, and then work with consultants. So I'm going to open is there any questions from the floor here? So I might just sum up here. We've got a 2-minute summary because, oh geez, we've covered and then I'm going to give you, Dave, the last minute to close. So what I've been hearing is the wonderful business world that we live in, you could come through if your business startup or project management, you could have strengths from a technical side or from a marketing to sales people side. And the key thing, that's okay, you can be highly successful, but knowing who you are and what your strengths are, and also recognizing your limitations. So then key attributes of that are to ability to delegate, ability to bring in the people to help fill those gaps. And then key success factors include drive, vision, ability to want that success, and then it's also to identify what is success, like you talked about the plan. And then basically always remember to know what you don't know. I like that one. And then be ready to manage that risk. So if you want to close us off in the last, say, 30 seconds or minute, anything you want to share with the audience? And
Sure. Yeah, I guess if I were to sum it up, again, entrepreneurship is that drive, but it has to have discipline behind it. Unbridled vision and an inability to see the bad stuff that might take you in a different direction can be very, very fatal. So there are rules, but it doesn't mean that because there's rules it can't be fun. You have to have that energy and enthusiasm, but understand that there is a process, there is a logical way to develop your business, and if you can match those two together, then you have, I think, a much higher chance of success.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Gauthier. And we look forward to having you again. And we look forward as the numbers grow on these live webcasts. And we'll see if we have questions. If anybody has any questions or wants to contact any of us after viewing this webcast, please contact us. And we will be putting information about Dr. Gauthier up. He's always willing to talk to people about around the world also. And thank you again. And everyone have a great day. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.